You can't manage what you don't measure. Most people stop being consistent because they don't see results. But often the results are there, they're just invisible. That's why tracking is your best friend. It makes the invisible visible. It shows you're growing, even when it feels like nothing is moving. Write down your efforts, mark your streaks, celebrate small wins. When you track your actions, you start building momentum. And momentum is what makes consistency addictive. It's like pushing a car uphill. Slow at first, but once it rolls, it's hard to stop. Don't wait for the world to validate you. Let your progress chart be your mirror. Show up daily and track the work, not just the outcome, because the outcome will lie. It might delay, but the work never lies. And over time, the work compounds in ways no one can predict. That's how greatness is built, one small, tracked win at a time. Most people talk about success as if it's just a strategy or a technique, but in truth, it all starts with a reason. Not just any reason, a reason that's so powerful it drags you through the storm, through the sleepless nights, through the rejections, through the failures, and still burns like fire in your chest. That kind of reason is not found casually. It comes from a place of deep emotional intensity. People who achieve great things are not always the smartest or the most gifted, but they are always the ones with the strongest why. They're not doing it for a quick reward or a trend. They're doing it because something in them refuses to quit. Ask someone why they want to be successful, and you'll often hear surface-level answers. I want money. I want freedom. I want to make my family proud. But these answers are soft. They sound nice, but they don't survive pressure. They melt under difficulty. Real reasons are born in pain. They are born when someone says, I will never go back to that place again. They are born when you remember the tears in your mother's eyes, the hunger in your past, the doors that were slammed in your face. When your reason is that raw, that personal, you don't need reminders. You wake up with fire in your belly and steel in your bones. A strong why is not a slogan you chant. It's a promise you make to yourself that you won't stop no matter how hard it gets. And trust me, it will get hard. Life will test you to see if you're serious. It will delay the results. It will tempt you to quit. But when your reason is powerful, you don't fold. You focus. You keep showing up because your future is louder than your excuses. Your dream becomes your oxygen. Quitting feels like dying. That's how intense your reason must be. But even when you find that deep reason, don't assume it will stay strong on its own. You have to protect it. You have to guard it from the noise of the world. People around you will try to water it down. They'll say, why are you working so hard? They'll try to normalize mediocrity and convince you that it's okay to slow down. You must build mental walls around your reason. Don't let their comfort distract your hunger. Don't let their fear poison your belief. The most dangerous enemy to your consistency is not failure. It's comfort. Once you start feeling comfortable, you stop reaching. That's why people who are hungry tend to win, because they're still chasing something they haven't let life sedate them. That hunger, that urgency, that desperation, that's your edge. And that edge is built by constantly revisiting your why. Write it down, read it every morning, tattoo it on your mindset. When you wake up, don't check your phone first. Check your purpose. Remind yourself why this matters. Remind yourself why you started, what's at stake, and who you're doing this for. Because on the days when motivation dies, and those days will come, only your reason will keep you moving. When the applause fades, the followers drop, the money slows, your why will still be there, whispering, keep going. You must also turn your reason into a vision. Don't just feel it. See it. Visualize the outcome so clearly that it haunts you. See yourself shaking hands in victory. See the house you'll buy your parents. See the company you'll build. See the difference you'll make. That clarity gives you energy. That coffee never could. It keeps your compass pointed in the right direction, even when the road is full of fog. The truth is, there will be days when the results don't come. You'll be working harder than ever, and nothing seems to move. That's when most people quit. But that's also when your reason must become your fuel. Consistency is a decision, not a mood. When your why is stronger than your pain, your doubt, your fatigue, that's when you become dangerous. Because most people stop when it hurts. You keep going because your reason is worth more than your comfort. If you want to stay consistent, don't look for hacks. Don't wait for someone to push you. Find the one reason that can carry your soul through fire, and then never let it go. Feed it, speak to it, honor it, because that reason, that burning why, will be the anchor that keeps you from drifting, the engine that drives your discipline, and the flame that never lets you fall asleep on your potential. Motivation is a liar. It shows up when things are exciting, when results are instant, when you feel good. But when life gets dull, heavy, or hard, motivation disappears like smoke. That's why the people who win in life don't depend on how they feel. They depend on what they've built. They build systems, rituals, and habits that don't ask them how they're feeling before getting to work. They don't rely on hype. They rely on structure. Because if you want to stay consistent, you have to build something that works even on the days you don't want to move. Everyone feels fired up on day one. Everyone's passionate when they start. But success doesn't come to the person who starts the strongest. It comes to the person who shows up the longest. That kind of consistency is not powered by emotion. It's powered by repetition. Discipline beats excitement every time. But here's the secret most people miss. Discipline is not about punishing yourself. It's about designing your life in a way that your future self wins automatically. Think about this. When you wake up in the morning, do you decide whether to brush your teeth? No, you just do it. It's automatic. You don't need motivation. It's part of who you are now. That's the level your success habits need to reach. You need to remove decision making from your daily mission. Because the more decisions you need to make, the more chances your lazy brain has to convince you to quit. You have to create a rhythm so strong that it carries you, even on the days when your energy is low and your doubts are high. Winners build routines that serve their goals. They don't leave their schedule to chance. They know what they're doing every hour. They know what their morning looks like, how they start their work, how they end their day. It's not robotic, it's powerful, because in chaos they still move forward while everyone else is waiting for the right time. They've already taken 100 steps. They don't talk about consistency, they live it. One of the smartest things you can do is make your success inconvenient to ignore. If you want to work out, put your gym shoes by the bed. If you want to write every day, keep your journal in your bag or by your desk. If you want to read more, delete the apps that steal your time and put a book on your pillow. Don't expect willpower to save you. Structure will. Willpower is a battery that drains. Structure is a bridge that carries you even when you're tired. People who struggle with consistency think they need more motivation, but they actually need more clarity and fewer choices. You don't need to feel good. You need to do the thing, whether you feel like it or not. The feeling comes after the action, not before. Show up first. Momentum will follow. And once it starts building, you'll feel something more powerful than motivation: progress. Make your process visible. Create checklists. Use habit trackers. Mark your wins. It sounds simple, but it works. The brain loves seeing progress. When you check a box, it celebrates. When you see a streak, you don't want to break it. That's how consistency becomes a game. One you don't want to lose. Gamify your discipline, and soon you'll find that showing up becomes addictive. You also need to respect your environment. Your habits are a reflection of what surrounds you. If your room is messy, your life will feel messy. If your phone is full of distractions, your mind will be too. Clean space, clean mind. Build a workspace that encourages action. Organize your digital life. Surround yourself with tools, not temptations. The easier it is to start, the more likely you are to stay consistent. But let's be honest. There will be days when none of this feels like enough. Days when your mind fights you. Days when quitting looks easier than continuing. That's when your habits must kick in like muscle memory. When it's raining outside, your umbrella works automatically. That's what habits do. They protect you when your emotions can't. The truth is, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. If your habits are weak, your consistency will collapse. If your habits are strong, you'll keep going long after everyone else has stopped. Don't chase more motivation, build stronger systems. Because in the end, success belongs to the one who shows up without asking permission from their feelings. Be that person. Be the one whose habits are louder than their excuses. That's how you win. That's how you stay consistent. Repetition is the grind no one wants, yet it's where all greatness is born. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. It doesn't feel like progress. But behind every powerful performer, every successful business person, every athlete, every artist is boredom. Pure, relentless boredom. Doing the same things over and over again. Long after the excitement has faded, long after the applause is gone, long after others have quit. The people who win aren't always more talented. They're just more committed to the boring parts. They've learned to embrace monotony while others run from it. The early stage of any journey is fueled by passion. You feel the energy. You want to jump out of bed. Every step feels new. Every challenge feels thrilling. But that fire doesn't last forever. And that's where most people fail. They confuse passion with purpose. Passion fades, purpose remains. When the high of a new beginning wears off, all that's left is the work. Repetitive, quiet, sometimes frustrating work. And in that silence is where your real strength is built. Consistency demands boredom because progress isn't always obvious. You might do the right thing for weeks and not see a single result. You might train hard, learn hard, work hard, and feel stuck. That's when the real test begins. The question is no longer, do you love the result? It becomes, can you stay faithful to the process? Because if you only work when it's exciting, you'll quit when it's essential. Boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is proof you're doing something worthwhile. It's the sign you're not chasing dopamine. You're building discipline. The problem is, most people are addicted to novelty. They want something new every week. A new idea, a new plan, a new opportunity. But success doesn't come from constant change. It comes from steady, focused repetition. Think of a musician who practices the same chords for hours. A boxer throwing the same punch 1,000 times. A coder writing line after line. It's not creative, it's consistent. And that consistency compounds. It's invisible progress stacking up behind the scenes. You can't always see it, but one day it shows up in the form of mastery. The brain doesn't like boredom. It wants to chase what feels good, but your future doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about your follow-through. If you want to rise above average, you have to accept that boredom is part of the climb. You have to show up even when you don't want to, especially when you don't want to, because the breakthrough always comes after the boring. That moment where something finally clicks, it only comes to those who stayed long enough to see it. Repetition builds rhythm, and rhythm leads to momentum. The more you do something, the less resistance you feel doing it. What once felt like a struggle becomes second nature. But the only way to get there is through the valley of boredom. It's not fun, it's not fast, but it's effective. Every day you repeat your routine. Every time you show up when you'd rather rest, you're layering something inside you. A foundation that can't be shaken by emotion, distraction, or failure. The greatest achievements in life often come from people who outlasted the boredom. They didn't look for shortcuts. They didn't abandon their routines when things got slow. They didn't run to the next shiny idea. They dug deep. They stayed when others left. They did the work again and again and again until the work became part of them. That's when the shift happens. When it's no longer about motivation, it's who you are now. You've become someone who doesn't quit. Someone who repeats what others can't even finish once. To embrace boredom, you have to change your perspective. Don't see repetition as punishment. See it as preparation. Every day you repeat the process, you sharpen your edge, you build your focus, you harden your mindset. You don't just grow skills, you grow character. And the character is what carries you to the finish line when talent runs out. Success isn't about doing extraordinary things once. It's about doing ordinary things consistently, over and over, day after day, week after week. The people who can do that, they become unstoppable. Because once you learn to find meaning in the mundane, you'll do what others can't. You'll last longer, push further, rise higher. The secret to greatness isn't in a secret formula. It's in the patience to repeat. So show up, do the work, and fall in love with the boring, because that's where legends are made. Most people quit not because they weren't capable, but because they couldn't see their own progress. When you don't see results, you start to wonder if it's worth it. You begin to doubt. You ask yourself, why am I even doing this? But what you don't realize is that the growth is happening quietly, silently, underneath the surface. That's why tracking your progress is not just helpful, it's essential. It keeps you going when your eyes can't see the fruit of your labor yet. It's the mirror that reflects the invisible effort, reminding you that the work is working, even when the results haven't arrived yet. Consistency isn't about doing big things once, it's about doing small things every single day. But here's the catch. Small things are easy to ignore. They don't feel important. They don't bring applause. They're easy to skip because you think missing one day won't matter. But it does, because success doesn't come from the days you're great. It comes from the days you don't quit. When you track your effort, even if it's just one sentence written, one workout completed, 1 hour studied, you start to build momentum, and momentum is a force more powerful than motivation. When you track your actions, something shifts. You stop chasing perfection, and you start celebrating progress. You realize that it's not about hitting the jackpot in one move, it's about adding one coin at a time. You begin to see that those tiny actions, when done repeatedly, become unstoppable. The compound effect takes over. But you only notice that if you're paying attention. You only feel that energy if you're recording the journey. Most people quit because they're blind to their wins. But the ones who track, they stay in the game longer, and staying in the game is half the victory. Every time you tick a box, mark a day, log an effort, you're telling yourself, I am someone who shows up. That's powerful. Identity begins to form. You're not just someone trying to change. You are changing. You're not hoping anymore. You're proving. And proof builds confidence. Confidence builds consistency. And consistency builds results. This is the real cycle of success. Not motivation to action, but action to identity to motivation. When you track your progress, you're not just keeping score. You're shaping who you believe yourself to be. Don't rely on memory. It's emotional. It's inconsistent. On your good days, you'll overestimate yourself. On bad days, you'll forget everything you've achieved. That's why you need a physical record, a journal, a checklist, a calendar, a tracker, something real that speaks to you even when your mind is tired. Because when you see 27 days in a row, you don't want to break the streak. When you see how far you've come, you realize how close you are. And that realization can make the difference between stopping and pushing forward. Progress doesn't have to be measured in huge leaps. Sometimes it's just showing up when you didn't feel like it. Sometimes it's saying no to one distraction. Sometimes it's simply doing a task that moves you 1 inch closer to your goal. That inch matters. That inch compounds. But if you don't track it, you forget it. And what you forget, you start to believe never happened. That's how people lose motivation, not because they're not winning, but because they're not recording their wins. Celebrate your small wins like they're big ones. Every step forward counts. Every drop adds to the bucket. Don't wait until you've made it to clap for yourself. If you only celebrate the finish line, you'll hate the race. But if you celebrate the progress, you'll fall in love with the journey. And when you love the journey, consistency becomes second nature. You don't have to force it. You want it. Progress tracking also builds discipline through accountability. When you know you have to record what you did, you're more likely to do it. It keeps you honest. It keeps you engaged. It keeps you present in your pursuit. You're no longer drifting, you're driving. And every entry you make is a map of where you've been and where you're headed. It gives your actions weight. It turns random effort into a roadmap. So don't underestimate the power of small recorded actions. Start with one thing. Just one thing. Write it down, track it, show up again, track that too. And soon you'll look back at a wall of progress and realize you've become the kind of person who doesn't quit. Not because it was easy, but because you made the invisible visible. Because you honored your effort. Because you built your consistency on evidence, not emotion. And that is the secret the winners don't tell you. They didn't feel like it every day. They just never lost sight of how far they'd already come.